I'm Harold Glenn Hall.
I am Cecibel Hull.
We are both survivors of emotional, physical, incest, sexual abuse, and human trafficking as children. We will be sharing our stories of our childhood abuse and our healing journey after surviving the abusive childhood, and how our advocacy work brought us together in our mutual journey of helping other survivors of child abuse.
Please stay tuned on March.
Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Listen, if you are watching from YouTube, just do me a favor and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please share the broadcast. As you can see, I have some wonderful guests with me tonight. This is part 2 of Surviving the Storm, the Harold and Cece story. And, you know, guys, last night, if you were watching last night, you're probably still full with emotion. Because we had a night where lots of things came out, and I want to give you that disclaimer again, that you may hear some graphic details about what they went through, because it was something else. But I want you guys to meet my guests. I have Harold and Cece. She said it's okay for me to call her Cece tonight.
Yes.
Don't mess up her name. But we have Harold and Cece. They're obviously a couple, and they've been through so many different things together. Their advocacy work brought them together. Harold, thank you for your service, but he served in the military. He's in the U.S. Army, and they're both advocates for sexual child abuse. So we are excited that you guys joined us tonight. And then also coming to the party tonight, all the way from Portugal, we have Satya. Isn't that name beautiful? Like, I'm totally going to use that in one of my characters for my next book. But she's all the way from Portugal, and she's an international facilities awareness facilitator. And she's here tonight to just kind of help us. And what she does from day to day is basically help people realize their potential, you know, and spiritual awareness. So we're very excited to have all of you to the show. And Harold and Cece, welcome back.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Yes, awesome. Well, Satya, you know, for everybody that's watching the broadcast, we want to bring you up to speed with where we talked about last night, because their story is unbelievable what they went through. But we're going to give you guys just a basic. Can we just give them a basic overview? Harold was abused by his mother. He was molested by his mother. He was beaten and in foster care, ran away from home. Cece, very similar, except she was molested by her grandmother and raped by her father. And last night she revealed on the show that she actually got pregnant by her father. And but she eventually, you know, that didn't happen, but she talked about it last night. And Satya is just going to come in tonight and just offer some advice to those of you that are watching, so that you'll know when to recognize some of these behaviors in your kids. And so this is all about trying to help everybody, right, guys?
Yes, absolutely.
Totally.
Now, what we want to do is we want to pick up where we left off last night. Where we got to last night was with you, Cece.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how you were on the streets in New York. At this point, you're like 14, I think.
14. Yes.
14 years old. You're homeless. You run away from all the foster care. Because remember, guys, last night we talked about this. Cece was raped and just everything in the foster care. So she ran away, rightfully so. And now she's on the streets of New York. And you can take it from there.
Yeah. So I was like, like homeless. I was like for 6 months. For 6 months trying to survive. And but finally the police, you know, found me. And they put me into a group home. When they put me in a group home, I stayed there for a while until they gave me back to my mother. When they gave me back to my mother, I started using drugs. I started drinking. I was out of control and used to go partying, and I met a guy. the Prince Charming. And he was a dream. He was very handsome. He said, I want to marry you. I want to take you to Colombia, and so you can meet my parents, and we can have the wedding there. And to me, it was like a fairy tale. And so I went with him to Colombia. We traveled. It was awesome. He lived in a beautiful, beautiful mansion, and for 2 weeks, it was a dream. After the 2 weeks, we got into an argument, and he punched me in the face and threw me on the floor. And he told me, so this is what you're going to do. You're not here for what you think. You're going to listen to me, and you're going to do everything that I say, or I will kill you.
Okay, now let's establish something right here. You're 14.
No, I was already older.
You were older at this point. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So he was within your age range. You guys were about the same age.
No, he was 28.
And you were?
I was 21.
Okay. All right. Carry on.
Yeah. So then, so he said, you're going to do everything as I say. If not, I'm going to kill you. He had bodyguards. He had a lot of people around him. I didn't know what was going on, truly. To me, it was like, what's happening? What's wrong? And they raped me. They raped me. They tortured me. And they threw me into a room, a dark room, disgusting room. And they chained me.
So you were repeatedly raped every day?
Every day I was repeatedly raped by different men. It was in and out, in and out, in and out. I can't tell you how many men. But I just every day I would just pray and say, God, take me away. I can't take it anymore. And there was a bodyguard that he was the one who was in charge of feeding me, bathing me, because in order to survive, what I used to do, so they don't touch me, at least one day, I used to defecate on myself.
So they wouldn't want to touch you.
They wouldn't touch me.
Right.
Yeah. And this bodyguard used to sit down behind the door, and I used to cry, and I used to ask him, please, beg. I used to beg him, please help me. And I shared my story with my father, what I've gone through. I said, you have a mother, you have sisters, you wouldn't want this to happen to them. Please help me. And it was every day I would just beg. Throughout this time, it was continuous rapes, tortures. I was drugged because I was a fighter. So they said, okay, you want to fight? So they drugged me. So 6 months of in and out, men raping me, abusing me, torturing me. And these were lawyers, these were priests, these were fathers. Yes.
They would come to the mansion, so
yes.
They were probably selling you.
Yes, they were.
Wow.
They were. And every day that was my task, trying to get into his heart and beg, please help me. And one day I was severely beaten. I had blood all over. And they just left me there on the floor. And he came in and he saw me and he said, this is going to end. I'm going to help you.
Wow.
I'm going to help you. So I'm sorry. It's tough.
It's okay.
I know, honey. I know. Take your time.
And then well, I think it was dark. I was weak, and he carried me out. I think he wrapped me some sheet or whatever. I don't know what it was. And he took me to the truck, and we just drove away, and he took me to a hotel. In the hotel, I was bruised. I was laying down. He was taking care of me. And the next day, he told me, they're looking for us. You have to go. You have to go. We saw the cars coming, and he says, you have to go. Go now. I didn't have clothes on. I was naked. And I just grabbed the sheet and I just ran. I ran. And when I was running, I heard that they shot him.
Oh.
I heard that they shot him.
Did they kill him?
Yes, they killed him.
For helping you?
Yes, for helping me. Yes. And I ran. I didn't know where I was. I didn't have my passport. I didn't know anything about Colombia. So I was completely lost. And I was just running through the woods. Then I found a car stopped, and it was these military, or it was soldiers. And they said, oh, we can help you. And I'm like, yes, please help me. I don't have my passport. I'm a United States citizen. I need to get to the embassy. And they say, okay, come on. So they drove me.
It's okay. It's okay.
They drove me.
It's okay.
To a farm, and they both raped me. And then they started hitting me with a bat all over my body. And I think they thought that I was dead. And they just left me there. They just left me. I passed out. I don't remember. I just remember these two elder people that were owner of the farm or the land, that they were talking to me. And I just blocked out, in and out. And then I remember them putting me inside a truck, and I just blocked out. Next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. And then there was police officers, and they were asking me what happened. And I told them what happened. I said, I've been sex trafficked for 6 months. And I need to get back home. I need help. I don't have my passport. So I was severely injured. I was in the hospital almost, I think, a month and a half.
Can you tell us about your injuries?
Well, I had injuries in my ribs.
Sweetheart, can I just say something here? Sorry, because I know that many people are listening to us, and we can being activated them so much. If we can all take a deep breath and reminding the ones that you are listening to us that it's okay that you start to feel a lot of emotions with CC testimonial, because it opens a lot of wounds in all of us. Even if you are not a survival too, all this story starts to touch us. So one good thing is put your feet on the ground right now and feel the ground under your feet, so we can really move on with a lot of awareness and presence, because it's such a story that really moves something inside of us. Very important. And I want to just to say to Cici, thanks so much for your testimonial, because it's really opening opportunities for people to understand that they are not really alone, and this really happens, and that we can speak about it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And to be a survival and a survivor, it's a question, how can we deal with it but to speak about it,
Exactly.
because it's expressing, it's showing up, it's exposing that brings healing.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So then what happened, Cece?
So I was a month there at the embassy. People from the embassy came to the hospital, and I gave them all my information. I didn't have a passport, so they had to verify that I was an American, and it took a while, and they brought me back to the United States.
Did they take you back to your mom's house?
No.
They did not. Okay.
No. Yeah. So after that, you think that I would, stop with my acting out, because I was acting out. I kept using drugs. I kept doing terrible things. I got arrested. I did 6 months in jail in Rikers Island. For possession of drugs. I was addicted severely. Yes.
Understandably so. Yeah.
And you know that
And
it's what happens to
yes,
more than 90% of
yes,
survivals.
yes.
We will take anything just to push the pain away,
Pain
just to
away.
avoid the memories. Yeah. So
For me, it
it's
was just to push the all the memories, all the flashbacks, and be able
yeah.
to function in society,
Yeah.
But and then one night, I was clubbing again, and I was really, really, really drunk, and I got into a car, and I don't know what happened, and it crashed, and I was 4 months in coma.
Oh.
For 4 months. They didn't think I was going to make it. I would hear little things, doctors, oh, poor girl, I don't think she's going to make it. So it was, but when the awakening, it was the awakening. That was the awakening. When I woke up, it was time to change. It was time to find help. It was time to grow. It was time to heal. I went to rehab. I cleaned myself. I went back to school. I got my master's.
Woo!
Awesome. And I said, well, from this pain that I have, I'm gonna make something good out of it. Okay, I'm not gonna be a victim forever. Then I founded Incest Survivors United Voices of America, because at that moment it was kind of like a blog. I wanted to know that there was more. I wanted to know if there was people like me, because I thought I was the only one. So the blog, one day I was writing and I posted my first blog, and the following day somebody wrote and said, "You're not alone." From that moment on, "You are not alone." It changed my life, because I said, "Oh my God, there's more people like me." And the blog started growing and growing. Wow. And it was also my way of healing.
Yes.
Reaching out to others, giving people hope. And when I gave hope to myself. So from there, somebody in one of the chats, survivors told me, "Why don't you make it an organization? There isn't a lot of organizations that speak about incest. There is a lot of child sexual abuse,
right,
child abuse, but there isn't a lot of organizations that speak specifically about incest." And that's when I formed the organization. And after that, like 5 years after that, I created, no, not 5 years, 15 years after that, I created It Was Me campaign, which
that's
all
awesome.
forms of sexual abuse and child abuse. Yes.
Now, Satya, do we see that, because incest, I know in the South, I'm from the South, it's one of those dirty words in a family. You just don't talk about it, what happens in this house stays in this house. So many people have suffered from incest. How do you transition from a child that was a victim of incest to now being an adult who doesn't want to talk about it?
So I think it's very important to tell people that normally all these kind of sexual abuse, incest, they happen in the family. Yeah. So it's 52.8%. So imagine only 40% or less, 38% that happen out of the family, like friends, people that you don't know. What happens in the family is the pain is so big to understand that something is happening that no one, they don't, it's not, they don't want to talk, is they don't want even to believe that is happening.
Right.
So even the perspective of other people around what is going on, it's like they shut down, so they don't deal with the pain that they feel just by thinking that is might happening. And some, they are really afraid to expose the situation because the idea that someone from the family, especially parents or grandparents or brothers and sisters, are doing that to one of the child, it's so tremendous that the brain shuts off. It takes a lot of courage to come out and say, what is going on? I have this sensation. Is it true? Because you are afraid that you are not being, how do you say, fair with that person. Maybe you are doing a mistake. But I want to tell you that if you have that sensation, you need to come out. You need to confront, because we are speaking about children that they can't protect themselves. They don't have physical power to say no. They don't have the mental and the rational part of the brain that is activated to understand it's not their fault, that something is really wrong and they should be protected, especially by those people. So if you have a sensation, inquiry, why do I have this sensation? Am I a person that I'm totally dissociated, that I create stories? No. So maybe I can go there and ask what is really going on. For the child, what happens? First of all, the child in the beginning, even if it's really painful with physical pain, if the child is really small, she doesn't understand what is really going on. And normally what happens passes away, just passes away, because the brain needs to shut down the pain, the suffering, emotionally and physical, so that child can survive. It's a strategy of self-defense, of a survival mode that we all have. So what happens is when that survival mode is repeated, and one time is already a lot, but when it's repeated and repeated and repeated, the child starts to not to trust their own feelings. She starts to disconnect the synapses that can understand what is going on, and the sexual arousal, because there is sexual arousal, it's so big that she can't cope with that energy. So everything that, and a lot of time, if there's no violence, only, sexual abuse and sexual arousal comes, they have pleasure too. But the child in that age is not ready for that kind of pleasure with an adult. So what happens in their mind, in their system, energetic, emotional, physically, brain waves, everything started to be distorted. And in that moment, there's a big confusion between, I can't trust them because this is not, the child feels this is not normal, but she doesn't process with the brain, but the body shuts down. So I can't trust adults. I can't trust the person that should really take care of me, but I want their attention. I need their attention.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why normally these child, they grow up attracting abusers, because in their system is totally memorized, abused in a very unconscious way. So the abuse is recognized, but not from a point that you need to protect from it, but you already survived to it, so you allow it to happen.
Mhm.
So you
Right.
lose your sense of boundaries. You don't know how to put your own limits.
Mhm.
And that's why these children, we grow into adults that we are waiting for someone to save us, because
Mhm.
it's the child inside shouting like,
Exactly.
please save
Wow.
Yes.
me. So it's very easy to go to the Prince Charming.
Yes.
Yeah. And
It's
we trust always the guy who wants to save us, that we are special, but at the end, they are the ones that they are in the role of the abuse, and we just position ourselves in that very easily. So we need we need to expose this in a sense that, and that's why I want to say something here. First of all, exposing bring healing, because we take layers of shame,
Mhm.
of uh, we really believe that we are responsible for the situation, that we are not. You are not. Second, if exposing is healing, we need to turn exposing in a very safe way for people to come out, because after opening up, normally they feel a lot of guilt, a lot of shame again, and we need
Mhm.
to support them again after,
Exactly.
especially after. For of course, Harold and Cici, you have so many work. That's why you come out and you can really expose. But you know, you work with people
Yes.
too. In the
It's so
beginning, they
difficult.
can expose, but it's really hard after.
Mhm.
They go
Yeah.
into the hole of shame again.
Yeah.
Maybe it was really me. Why did I expose this? For what?
Yeah.
And we need to nurture them.
And
Now,
I'd like to add, and this is a universal problem, is it's not her, it's him or her.
Yeah, him or her.
Because
Yes, sorry.
this happens. No, this is how we've been conditioned as a society. Girls can get raped, boys can't. That's not true. You know, and statistics that I read the other day is in the United States alone, 3,750 something females, this is reported cases, were abused. And these are children. Males was 3,175. So it's about 16%, 52% female, and the rest are males.
Mhm.
But society needs to understand it's all children.
All children.
And that's
yeah.
it's one of the stigmas that we try to change.
Yes.
Now, Cece, I want to ask you a very personal question here, because you were raped by your father,
Yes.
and you got pregnant by him,
Yes.
but you lost the baby because he kicked it out of you pretty much.
Yes.
And you held it in your hand and squeezed it,
Yes.
not knowing what it was.
Because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I thought like I said yesterday, something from my stomach had just,
Yeah. How did that make you feel when you realized that it was your baby? How did it make you feel? Did you feel like, oh, I wanted my baby, or what was going on with you? Because this is your day.
I cried.
Yeah.
Because regardless, it was still a child. It was a human being, you know.
Right.
And I hold her or him in my heart, you know. And I remember. And at that moment, at that point, I didn't know.
Right.
But then I understood along the way. Yes. Yeah.
So now at this point, you have survived it. You're out of you're awakening. Your blog. It's getting you back. Now I want to pick up where we left off with you yesterday, Harold, because I want to get you up to where you are, and then in the middle here, we're going to talk about what you guys are now doing. So yesterday we left off because you needed a break. We left off. Your dad had gone to prison, and where were we with you?
We were in the boys' home.
Oh yeah, we're at Briscoe, and you're being raped. And let me ask you a question. I'm glad because I wanted to ask a question about that also. You were at a place where it was Catholics. They were running this facility for boys, and the clergy was raping you and raping all the boys, and the older boys were raping the younger boys. Did that change how you felt about religion at all?
I never looked at religion. I had two aunts that would steal me, just virtually steal me away from my mother and take me to their house, but it was like on a very rare occasion because she had the police there almost immediately. So they took me to church, and just almost every denomination as far as Christianity. I get to see the Holy Rollers and all that stuff, So it didn't take my faith away as far as God, because I believe in God. I believe in spirituality. I've had several experiences that I've shared with Cecibel, but I very seldom write about it, to where I had a spiritual being around me. So that didn't affect my belief. Okay. I had a problem, and I still have a problem, is with the Catholic
religion.
The Catholic religion is, I can't walk in the church. I couldn't come, what they call the rective? The area
confession?
Confessional.
Well, yeah, it's called a rectory or something.
Or a rectory.
And I can't, so that's where they would take you, is down into the church, into the confession area, and beat you and rape you. I can't remember ever being taken to their living quarters. It was always somewhere in the church. And so today, even if something comes up on the movies and it goes inside a church, and I went to cathedrals, all kinds of places in Europe when I was in the military. And they're beautiful, but still that child inside me will instantly react, because of all the things that I went through, the physical, emotional, abandon, and all that stuff with my mother, is most of the rapes that I endured was in the church or in the orphanage. So I never lost my faith in God. I cussed God a lot. I screamed at God. I'd go out in the woods. Wherever I was, I'd scream at God. But I didn't lose my faith, because I know that there's a higher being.
Absolutely.
And that higher being is, in my belief, is not what we're being fed by Christianity. We are already part of it. We're part of the universe. We're the light, and the God is inside us. We are God, because we are part of that light. So, and everybody needs their own faith. And so I'm not prejudiced about anything.
I want to put this question out, though, for everybody, because people watching the broadcast are like, okay, well, I was an innocent child and this was happening to me. Where was God? And I'm putting that out there because people really do think like that. So what do we say to those people, Satya and Harold and Cece? What do we say to them?
And you have to go to a level. You have to be able to acknowledge, validate that the abuse happened to you, because Satya said it herself. Denial. Wasn't my fault. I'm 67, and I still will sometimes sit back and go, did that happen? Is this fabricated in my mind? Even though I know it's not, right? So an individual, male or female, needs to reach within themselves to find their energy, their spiritual level, their God. And if it's a church, fine. If it's a group, fine. Like the military. The military saved my life, because I joined the Army to die. And so it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
And everybody's got to understand, or a person's got to understand, it's not our fault.
For me, I never lost my faith.
No matter what, everything you've been through, the rapes, being molested, beaten, you never lost your faith.
No. I know that he has been watching me, taking care of me, giving me the strength to continue, move on, and rise above, So I've never lost that faith. It's always here. And I always speak to him, and I always thank him because he was the one who kept me alive. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I think no doubt. I think both of you, all of us, I mean, Satya was sharing some things with us before. Satya, what do you think? Because people associate with God doesn't love me. He left me out here to die. Why is this happening to me? I didn't do anything wrong. They go through all of these emotions. What do we say to those people, Satya?
So for me, let's just explain how I really turn and transform. I remember a really young child to be mad with God, because as a young child I was very sensitive and sensible at the same time, and for me, I couldn't understand how God could create situations for children, for older people, war, for centuries. So till 16, I was, against God. This is not God. This, and it for me was, I was in war with God. But then on 16, I understood I'm speaking with God every day. I'm speaking, I'm having a dialogue every day. Why this happening? Why do you allow this? And very young, I had to go to this process of, our own will, choice, and what is the complexity of the universe and the mystery, and that religion is something, institutions are other, but the true sacred spark lives inside of us all the time, and that we are God itself, not on the human level image, but has, we are nature, we are the mystery itself. We have all the dust of the stars and the rivers, but we are in the human body. So for me, God and sacredness, for me the word is mystery, because it includes everything. And I believe that we need to respect all religions, cultures.
Yep.
Right.
But the most important thing is not to put the responsibility of our own lives on outside, but to get inspired and ask for help, even if it's to higher source. But never forget, we can ask for help, we can pray, but somehow we need to go into action, to put the prayers in action, the love in action, the responsibility in action. So for me, was a beautiful path of transformation. And I want to say something that is for you, if it's important, as Harold was saying, to go to church, to a group, to turn to God, to spirituality, if it helps you.
Yes.
But remember that needs to help you to always remember the principle of life. Because if is turning you into a person that judge others, that brings you to separation, I know you don't know, my God is better than yours, you are already out of spirituality.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Very good
compassion,
point.
embracing the difference is where we need to go. This is the task in our moment of humanity now.
Yes.
It's what we are, all trying to do. And what you see is people are so divided, they live so in competition, that we are still killing people in name of something that I am right, you are not right.
Very
My
good
color
point.
is better than yours. My religion knows better than yours. My country knows better than yours. There is no boundaries. Geographic boundaries is something that we created.
Yes. Yes.
Humans.
Absolutely.
So we can control, so we can survive. Yeah, because in the beginning, tribes would fight with each other. And we still do. We still do. This is a very deep sickness in the humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We can't really look to each other as true brothers and sisters, family. And now we are being obligated to look, because what we are doing to the planet is really pushing us.
Absolutely.
And even like this, we don't want to look.
Right.
But I would love to say something to Harold, and this is very important what you said about men being men boys being abused. So I work with people for a long time, and I have always these big retreats. And I will give a number so I can give a percentage. When people enroll the retreats, normally we have a medical inquiry and a psychological inquiry. And I always ask, have you been a victim of sexual abuse? Normally, let's put a number, 40 people, in 40 people, 21, 25, they say yes. When we arrive into the third day of the retreat, because normally we go to 10, 5, 10, depends. Normally, at the third day, people start to come up and to expose. And do you know what is the number in 40? Normally 38.
Yeah. It's much greater than what society knows.
Yes. Yeah. And what happens is men, they are the last ones to show up because there's a lot of fear of the criticism, the judgment, because we have the stigma. Boys don't cry, you are
Yes.
strong, you
Mhm.
can hold.
Yep.
Yes.
But it's true. And in the retreat, there are so many men that they were abused as women, but women, they express more. And we need to speak about this. Do you know what happens to a person that doesn't expose this pain? She will cut them off from life.
Yep.
They will go on drugs, on alcohol, toxic relations, TV, eating disorders, and ending up on suicide.
Yeah. I
Or-
try to commit suicide. Yeah.
or
I'm a suicide survivor.
Or prison or the
Yeah.
streets.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah.
Wow.
Because they totally lose their self-esteem, they totally lose their trust, their self-worthiness. And we need to help these children.
Mhm.
We are survivors. We need to help them. We have the it's not moral even, it's being human.
Yes.
Because they need to understand that no matter what happened to them, they are worthy for a good life, for healthy
Worthy of love.
sexuality, healthy sexuality, that love is real and is not mixed with pain.
Mhm.
But let me ask you guys a question. What about, let's say, like Harold, you were raped by, you were molested. And what happens when you have boys that are raped by men and they end up being gay men? Now, how would you, either one of you guys, coach someone that happened to them? I mean, because the world is going to tell them that something's wrong with them. The world is going to call them a fag. They're going to call them all kinds of names, but it could be as a result of them being raped. How do you navigate around that? Either one of you guys answer that one.
I think every male that, as a child, that's raped, molested, because every one of my rapists was males, but one female. And the molestation started with my mother and my brother, one of my siblings that raped me. So you question your sexuality,
Right.
you question your masculinity. One of the things that I am thankful for is I wasn't exposed to a lot of things in the world because I was confined and restricted and controlled every day of my life unless I was in school. So I didn't pick up some of the beliefs and turmoil and prejudices that society has. So that's always helped me. And when I've had several males that talk about it, and what I guide any male is, you didn't become gay because of being raped. That's something that happened to you. Mm-hmm. You are reacting to what you're attracted to. It's like being heterosexual, being gay, being a lesbian. It's what you physically and spiritually are attracted to. And so don't take that because you got raped that you're gay. Even though I remember one of my rapists, my neighbor, or our neighbor, he'd walk around and says, now you're my little bitch. And he told me that you're a bitch.
And your mom said that too.
Yes. My mother, before she threw me out of the house so Hank could have full control of me, because my mother told Hank that he could do whatever he wanted just to catch up. And then, but I thought a long time that I'm not worthy of anything. I should have been a girl, because all these men want my body. I didn't know as a child that that was not identifying myself. That didn't identify me, because as I got older, I understood through my rage and everything I went through is my attraction was always towards female. And like a lot of male survivors, or a lot of survivors, I should say, I was very loose with my morals. Let's just put it that way.
I like the way you say that, loose. So, okay, now I have another way of saying my story. I was just loose with my morals.
That's right.
I like that.
So I normally say in private with Cecibel, I was a slug. But males need to understand that doesn't define them,
Okay.
And I know that I've had survivors that they're just tied around that. And that's one of the things that men have that stigma because of society.
Right.
Society puts a stigma on it. Little boys aren't supposed to cry. Little boys ain't supposed to show their emotions. You man up, suck it up, and move on.
That's what I was impressed with you, Harold, because I tell you, I mean, I felt for you last night when you became emotional, but I thought that, wow, people are watching this and you're giving them permission to cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I felt like that was a victory, for everyone, because this show is about empowering people and helping them as Satya does, helping them realize their potential. Because we all have the potential to be victorious in anything that we do. So Satya, I want you to add to that too, about the boys becoming gay. Does it have a direct result of their rape, or like Harold said, is it just because they're just responding to what they're attracted to?
I don't believe there's a connection. I believe that we can have those doubts, because it's normal, especially when the abuser is from the same sex. Do I not like? Because of that sexual arousal that always happen, even with being raped with, okay?
Yes.
That's why then we become confused, and that we need to tell people that when we are raped, when we are abused, there's a sexual arousal that will that will confuse you. And this sexual arousal is not because you are attracted, it's because it's the chemistry in the body that was activated, even with the pain of being raped, or being beaten, of being, hold and do whatever they want. Yeah. So what I work with people is, okay, that question that I know that you are busy, let's just put that on hold, and let's go to the true healing. And the natural answer will come out. And we need to tell, there's a big stigma still around homosexuality, and we need to give them a lot of support. Working with them, I see how many people, they still live in darkness, like hiding from their families, from their social network, because they are afraid of judgment. And especially if they were abused, they are even more confused. Wow. So I totally support what Harold was saying, that is a question that you would answer with the sexual abuse or not.
And the turnkey on that is take away the sex abuse, and have the physical abuse and stuff. And in my case, I was unloved and I was unwanted by my mother. my mother's never loved me and has never touched me other than abuse. The human mind needs attention. The human mind is built for love. And a lot of survivors don't understand their own actions sometimes. I wet the bed until the day I was taken out of my mother's home. That's how much fear I had, and I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom unless I was given permission. So that meant at night I couldn't get out of my bed. Well, sounds bad, but I would intentionally wet the bed. Why? Because I got attention.
Oh,
it wasn't good attention. It wasn't positive attention, but it was attention. So humans are going to get attention one way or the other.
do we do it as adults also, Harold?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Just like Sasha said earlier, is we put ourselves in situations knowing I can't even count relationships that I knew was wrong, but yet I still did it. It fed something inside me.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we do it as adults.
Oh, wow.
Much more than we realize.
That's right. That's right. You know, I want to get to the other side, you know, of our conversation tonight, because I want to really wrap it up so people can know how all of this ends. But there are a few questions I have because people inbox me wanting to know, both of you, Harold and Cece, have you had conversations with any of these abusers, mom, dad, brothers, uncles, any of them since you left? And now that you're an adult and you're awakened now, have you had conversations with any of your abusers?
Yeah. My abuser died 2 years ago, my father, and my grandmother died a couple of years ago. They had he asked for forgiveness, but it was the forgiveness that it was only said to me. It wasn't in front of the family. He never acknowledged it in front of the family. I've never seen my family for 30 years. Okay? I have never seen my family.
Do you want to?
At this point, no. No, I don't want it at this point, because when I needed them was when I was a child. Right now, I don't need them anymore. And they doubted me, and they isolated me, and they mistreated me, re-victimized me. So I don't need them. You know?
Now I want you to answer that, Harold, and then when you finish, Satya, I want you to assess this, because there are people out there that are wondering if they should. Is it a part of healing? Is it necessary? Is it not? But Harold, I want to know from you first.
Well, let's take the orphanage away, because obviously there was no connection there. There's a lawsuit that Cecibel seen against the Catholic Church for that orphanage.
Thank God.
Well, they were sued in 2014 and had a settlement, so they closed that case. Now that obviously there's another one, so I'm going to join that one.
Good for you.
But let's take all those people away, right?
Okay.
From the moment I was born until I left my mother's house, I was hated. And I was abandoned. I was neglected, and I was put in juvenile because of me acting out. And so after I left home, after I was taken out of the home, I shouldn't say left, because I was removed from the home, which probably saved my life, because my mother would eventually kill me, was my mother told my brothers, I had an older brother and 3 younger siblings, that I was dead. She virtually told them I had died. And she told everybody that she knew that I was dead. And I didn't know that until I ran just by accident, I was at a fair and I was working there, and this lady went by me and she turned around and like turned ghost white. She goes, "You're a Hull." And I went, "What?" And, "Yeah, I'm a Hull. I got a name tag that says that," you know. And she goes, "No, you're Glenn Hull. You're dead." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. So, but she was the one that told me about my mother telling everybody that I was dead. She went to the point of having a death certificate when I was actually removed by the court. So I didn't have any contact with my family at all. I wanted nothing. I didn't want nothing to do with them. And I retired in 2002. Well, my older brother was mentally handicapped, and he had epilepsy, and he had violent epilepsy. And so he got so big at some point that they started putting him in nursing homes. And I'd heard about him over the years through an aunt. You know, I've got an uncle that if something happens in the family, like a death, they call me, or he calls me. So when I got out of the military, obviously I retired as a command sergeant major, and I obviously have a good retirement after 30 years. So I started looking for Robert, and I asked my aunt and Roberta, and she told me where he was. And I went there, and they said, "Well, you're not on the visitors list that's authorized to see him. You have to get on that list." Well, I snuck in.
Mm-hmm.
I snuck in with a lady that was walking through, and she was using a walker. So I opened the door for her. They buzzed us, and I opened the door, held it for her. She went in with her walker, you know, and she thanked me for doing that. And then I started looking around, and I seen a C and A, and she told me Robert's in that room over there. So I went in to see him, and it was really weird because he had a pegboard that had pictures of me in the Army, pictures of my cars, because I restore cars, muscle cars. So I had no contact at that point, but I had to make contact with the devil, is what I call it. I had to dance with the devil, which was my mother, and I had to get her permission to see Robert. Well, I financially helped Robert for 5.5, 6 years until he passed. But I had to deal with my mother, which wasn't good. So I thought one day one of my brothers came to the nursing home, and I happened to be there. He came with his wife, and he was standoffish and stuff, you know, didn't say anything unless directly asked. So scratch that one. You know, I got the hint right away. I sent one of my brothers a Christmas card thinking, okay, I want to make contact, you know, and he sent it back and basically told me if I ever made contact again, he'd kill me. And the same brother recently has started attacking my social media, telling everybody I'm lying and that kind of stuff.
I saw that.
Yeah. And I started blocking him, you know, because I can't let somebody take away my life, my foundation. And another brother, I saw him a couple of times in California when I was stationed at Fairfield Air Force Base. But no, I've never had any desire ever to have any relationship, because after the actions that's happened over the years is, you know, why did somebody approach me who's 60 years old or 59, who's 59, who hasn't seen me, all of a sudden attack me? So no, I've never made contact.
Is your mother still alive?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's in a nursing home somewhere. And I only know that because of the sibling said it.
Right.
And I think that's why he started attacking me, because she's really probably ill. I don't know. but she's in a nursing home. That doesn't say very good, you know. So somebody was giving him information off my pages.
Right. Now, Satya, how is it normal to just say, you know what, to hell with them? I don't want anything to do with any of them. They hurt me. They did nothing for me. Is it easier to heal that way, or are you not getting a full healing unless you confront that?
So before I really answer to that, I want to explain a process that we all go through. That is, when we're born, we have two main needs that they are really important. One is attachment, and is love, care, physical connection, touch, and then it's authenticity. You can be who you are. You can show up. You can express your emotions. But what normally happens is family, they just stop us. No, you don't cry. No, you don't say like that. No, you don't behave like that. And they start the conditioning because they were conditioned too. Okay, I see people that really abuse others as really sick people, really sick, that they need help. Sometimes help is to stay totally closed in four walls so they don't really kill other people, hurt other people. Others, they need to go to, psychiatric. Others, they just need therapy. It depends. But when the person starts to lose the child starts to understand that to receive the attention, I can't be myself. I need to behave in a certain way. What happens is we totally cut ourselves in two, and the part that is your true essence is totally repressed.
Yep.
So when I start to work with people and they ask me that question, should I go to them? I don't have a precise answer because it will depend on each person, on each process. For some people, it's really important and really heals the family. For example, for me, was the healing of my family. When I just came out, I was already a mother and said, knock, knock, father and mother, we need to talk. But we need to help people to understand that it's not because you do that they will respond the way that you want. They maybe respond exactly the opposite. I heard that is a lie. And only after some years, it's not easy for a mother to accept that in her house, her daughter was abused and she didn't want to see, because how could not she see?
Right.
So it's a big process. For others, to go there is only, again, the addiction to the traumatic vortex, because what they get is only more abuse, only more trauma. So it depends on the person. It depends on the person, on the process. And we need to support the authentic part of the person to find their own answer. Because even if they know, for example, a person already, I have many, so I'm going to give a case. A person that said, no, for me it's important to confront them and to tell, it's this what you did, and I don't forgive you. I don't want you to be forgiven by myself. And the process was, okay, you said that, and now what do you do with this? And for him, for her, doesn't matter, was important because he, for the first time, could, because that person was choked many times. He could express to the abuser for the first time. But then he needs to go on with the process of true forgiveness, not in the sense he wants the connection with the person, but he really liberates himself and that person from the vortex of pain. So it has so many layers, this question. I would say that if someone is listening to us, really pay attention and be aware that it's not because you speak that you will have the response that you want. You need to understand that the other person is in a different process. Why are you wanting to speak is important for you. If it is, do it, but be aware the consequence can be many.
Yes.
And you need to be ready and to prepare yourself if it happens like this, if it happens like that. So what are you doing? You are already creating a safe space for you to deal with possible reinforcing of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And survivors need to understand, they need to go with the mindset, this isn't for the people that abuse them. This isn't for your mom, dad, or whoever. It's for you. In order for you, forgiveness is not, I don't forgive my mother for physically doing what she did to me. But I had to forgive my mother in my mind for myself.
Yes.
And that helped take away the hatred. Because I'm not going to lie, I hated that woman with every breath.
Understandably so. I can
forgave my
understand
father.
that.
Yeah, I forgave. But it was more for myself.
Right.
So I can move forward, because with that bitterness, that hatred, that toxic emotions, I wasn't going to move forward. No, I had to forgive. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to have a relationship. After I forgave him, I did not have a relationship with him. I just forgave him. I said, I forgive you that. And that's it. But I could never, ever have a relationship. It was too much. It was too.
Wow.
It was too
The biggest
traumatizing.
healing is that. What you're saying. The
Yeah,
biggest healing is
it was
that.
too
Just to cut.
traumatizing. To cut, you forgive, you move on, but we're not going to talk. We're not going to be the family. You cannot
Right.
be my father.
See, with me, it was, I never had a touch. I'd never had a hug. I'd never been kissed by my mother or cared about my mother. All I knew was striking. You know, I was going to get hurt some way every day. So I had no emotional attachment to my mother at all. I had no emotional attachment to my brothers because I wasn't allowed to be around them.
Right.
So, but I had to use the forgiveness to get away from the anger and the hate.
Yes.
Because it was consuming me.
It was consuming me. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It
Well,
was.
you know, before we get out of here, I definitely want to address a quote that you had on your page, Harold, because I thought it was so profound. And I just kind of want you to briefly tell us what it means to you when you hear this. Be brave enough to listen to the whisper of your own soul instead of the roar of society. That's deep. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
That's how I got her my writing.
We're going to talk about how you guys hooked up too before we get out of here. We're going to talk about that.
It's easy for us to get involved with everything around us and how everybody wants to give their opinion and overload us with chatter. I call it chatter. And it's universal chatter. It's just everybody's got something to say. You're trying to please everybody. You can't please anybody, whether you like it or not. They get pleased because they like what you do. So as survivors, that little voice inside of us that we always listen to, but many survivors don't acknowledge him or her, is that your core self. That's who you really are. So you got to start listening to yourself.
I like it. Now, how did you guys hook up? Tell us the quick story.
Well, she set up a trap for me.
No.
She did not trap you.
No, we were both advocates. I had heard from somebody that he was advocating and to read his writing and that he was fantastic. And I went and I looked and I said, yeah, he's a good writer. And then I started following him. He was already following me. I decided to create a group, and I invited him to be part of the facilitator, as a facilitator. And then we started talking on the phone. We would wrap up, talk about what happened in the group. And little by little, I started feeling something.
Aw.
Yeah.
And when did you realize that you loved this man or you loved this woman? When did you guys finally realize that and you wanted to spend the rest of your lives together?
Me too.
Mhm.
I had come out
Sweet.
I had just come out of a divorce, being married to a lady for 25 years, and she was the abuser in the family in our relationship. So there's domestic violence going on, and that was in the house, and then it went public. And when it went public, that's when I said it's done. So I heard from a friend that there's this advocate in New York, and she was advocating for the law to change for survivors. So I went, oh, and I'm like, I like her writing. I like where her mind's going. So I had an instant connection then, which will take you back to spirituality. I knew this woman. I knew in my soul.
Wow.
I knew this woman, and so I didn't want to play the game of love. I'd already come out of a 25-year marriage that was just hell. So it's like, I'm never getting married again. Don't ever say that word, never, because you're going to do it. So we started talking. And the thing is we would be completing each other's sentences, two strangers,
Aww.
And it was like our souls melted together. So she came to visit once, and that was the end of it. I knew
you were hooked.
We were hooked.
I was hooked.
Yes.
Wow. And it's been 6 years.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, we wish you guys many, many. When is your anniversary?
August 15th.
August. Okay.
Good.
And I can imagine that you guys being together, you're able to, when you have those rough moments, you're able to share with her without holding back, because she went through hell too, So I think it's good.
When we have rough moments, we understand each other.
Right.
And sometimes I always tell her, I says, little Cece's here, because she behaves differently. Her facial expressions are different. She knows the same thing about me. And so yeah, we really compliment each other a lot.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. I mean, even when we were talking, you guys complete each other's sentences when we were on our first phone call. I love it. So Satya, what do you have coming up over in Portugal? And you know what? I am so excited that she got up out of her sleep tonight, guys. Like, she went to bed and woke up to come to the Ella Johnson show. What? That is incredible. My assistant found you and she was just so excited about you. So I want to first thank you that. Now tell us what you have coming up, Satya.
So first of all, I really appreciate the way you were bonding. It's really authentic and really opened my heart when you are in that. Thank you for that, both of you. So Ella, so we are already opening the second school, 1 years and a half training for people that will work from normal psychotherapy, breath work techniques, emotional exposure, trauma release, PST, meditation, shamanism, like ancient practice. So we are opening, and it will be online in Lithuania, and then in Portugal and in Ukraine we have White Lotus. That is the first retreat of a big journey only for women. And then we have Soul Wisdom, that is for men and women. And these retreats, they are really deep. We use several techniques so we can go through different layers that we all have. So for some, meditation will be the gate, for others will be the more psychotherapy, others will be the exposure work or more ancient techniques. It's really deep work. People that they want to join us, you can find in workingwithsatya.com. And we have all the online work that we do because of the pandemic. I was the one that I was never in the internet. So I was going country by country working with groups.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then this just came up. Quarantena for us in Portugal was really strong. We really went totally locked down.
Yes.
And we are a very small country, and so I couldn't really travel. And my teams from different countries said we can't stop. And it was my first time that I said, okay, let's do it. And it has been an amazing journey online, like meeting people like you that I would never do because I would not be here. So maybe we will meet.
I'm coming to Portugal.
Day.
I'm coming. I'm coming to Portugal. I get a passport first, but I'm coming because I think your country is beautiful, and I have totally, and I know I speak for Harold and Cece, totally enjoyed your commentary tonight, and it has just been so refreshing. I feel a load lifting from the people watching, because you've hit some stuff that most people don't address. Like, we really addressed incest. We talked about it. It actually came out of our mouths tonight, and you gave some advice. And I think that both of you, Harold, Cece, and you, Satya, you made people realize there's nothing wrong with you. I think if there's anything that people will take from tonight's broadcast, is that you'll know there's nothing wrong with you. You didn't cause this. It didn't cause you to be homosexual or anything, heterosexual or homosexual, whatever the case may be. It didn't cause that. It didn't create that. Where you are is just where you are, and God loves you no matter what.
Exactly.
That's what we want people to. Well, you guys.
I wanted to say, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If anybody wants to contact us, our website is itwasmecampaign.com, and we have isuvoa.com. Yeah.
And the same thing on Facebook.
And Facebook, we have our Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
Yes.
So you guys are out here advocating for everybody. Yes.
And people needs to understand that asking for help is not being weak.
Exactly.
It's an act of bravery.
Yes.
And this, we need to pass this. It's one of the biggest acts of bravery, so they really recover themselves.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy tonight. I mean, because last night, I mean, it was a lot. Your story has just truly moved. I mean, my inbox has been busy all day, guys, honestly, with people that were just really right there with you last night and holding you up and thinking about you. And it just, I mean, I can understand why, because your story it's just unbelievable what you went through. But I look at you now and I say, there's a God, because there is no other way that you guys can be here and still in your right mind, unless there was something else working on your behalf. So I want to respect whatever religions people have. So I don't want to just, but I do believe that the God was in it. I definitely do. I believe that. Does anyone else have anything to say before we get out of here? Anything?
Just thank you. It was a big pleasure.
I love it. I love it.
All I want to say to the survivor community is that we're here for them. If they're safe, if they need support, please reach out. You're not alone. You are not alone. It's an honor to serve you. Awesome. And thank you for giving me this platform, giving us this platform.
Thank you guys for coming on and being my guest tonight. Listen, if you're watching, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. I'll be back next week. Now, for the last week we talked about domestic violence. This week we had a story that just will move you to tears if you go back and listen to it. But next week, we're going to do some civil rights activist kind of shows. And guys know where I go when I go there. But that's all coming up next week right here on the Ella Johnson Show, because for those of you that are watching, I did a show about Johnny D. Johnny D was a situation from the movie Just Mercy, and it happened in my hometown. And I promised you that I would get back to you with an update on what we're doing. Well, you'll have to tune in next week, to hear where we're up to now, because you know it's always something going on the Ella Johnson Show.
Mhm.
But guys, listen, everybody have a wonderful evening. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time right here
Bye-bye.
on
Likewise.
the Ella Johnson
Take
Show.
care.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show.